YouTube, it's Nick with Feeding Fitness. Today I'm going to address a topic that kind of concerns me. I hear this phrase used a lot, and I even hear a lot of credible people use this phrase, and I really, for the most part, don't agree with it. What am I talking about? The phrase, you have to eat big to get big. Now, is there any validity to this phrase? Is it true? Well, first, you really have to determine what you have to eat big means. I think a lot of people saying this phrase were never formerly obese, they never looked like I used to look like, and their appetite isn't exactly the same as someone like mine. If I eat big, I get fat. Eat big to get fat. That's what happens to me when I do what I consider eat big. Now, there might be some people out there that have struggled to gain weight all their life, and then for you that phrase holds some truth. You've got to eat big to get big. Big to you. You have to eat big for your appetite. It's not true with me. It's not true with a lot of former obese people. We have a different definition of eat big than you do. Eat big to me means 5, 6, 700, or 7,000 calories in a day, because that's what it took to get morbidly obese. That's eating big to me. If I do that every day, I don't care how hard I train and how much weight I push, I'm going to be fat. And so will a lot of other people who eat big to get big. Now, is it worth it to gain a lot of extra fat on a bulk? That's personal preference. In my opinion, no, not at all. The less fat you can gain on a bulk, the better, because that means less time cutting, which means more time bulking. So I think in the long run, though people will argue that if you keep your surplus too small, you will slow your gains down, I'd argue that in the course of a year, or better yet, over the course of 2 to 3 years, the person who gains less fat while bulking so that they can do smaller cutting sessions is going to net more muscle gain because they simply spend more time in a surplus, less time in a deficit. And let's be honest, 90% of us would rather be bulking than cutting. There are some people whose metabolisms or daily energy expenditures are so high that bulking is a huge chore for them and cutting is preferred. They're the minority. Most of us don't have trouble putting on weight. Most of us can gain weight fairly easily. So how quick should you gain weight on a bulk? This is another subject that's highly argued, and I think it depends on how advanced you are. If you are a beginner, you are brand new to lifting, and you want to gain muscle, it is time for you to bulk. 2 pounds a month. That's it. That's all I really think you should try and put on. I think any more than that is going to have unnecessary fat gains with not enough extra muscle gains to compensate. Simply put, it's not worth it to gain quicker. 2 pounds a month. Not very much. I say a 200 to 300 calorie surplus. Now, after time goes on, and if you bulk for a long period of time, that number may increase. What you were previously bulking on may become your new maintenance. And you just have to diligently watch the scale. I recommend it weighing daily, but then taking weekly averages and comparing the weekly averages, not the daily weights. Daily weights are going to be all over the place like they always are, simply due to fluctuations in water weight, carbs, etc. But you're shooting for 2 pounds a month for beginners. Alright? After your first year of training, you're not going to gain that fast. I'm saying 2 pounds or less a month is now your new goal for years 2 and 3. 2 pounds or less. 2 pounds at the most. Now, you're going to put on some fat with this. It's unavoidable. You're always going to put on some fat when you're building muscle. But it's going to be so little that you'll be able to cut it off quickly enough. So, 2 pounds a month, over the course of 6 months, it's only going to be 12 pounds weight gain. So if half of that is muscle, and I'm just throwing that number out of the air, that means you only gain 6 pounds of fat. You can cut that off in 3 weeks if you were aggressive enough, 6 weeks if you did a pound a week. So when you go slow, you're good. Now once you're advanced, 4 years plus down the road, pound a month, that's it. And that's going to be very hard to track. You just almost want to maintain with the scale slightly nudging forward. It's very hard to maintain, or it's very hard to measure that, but that's what you want to do. Now when I throw these figures out, I don't mean number of years lifting, I mean number of years gaining weight. So me, for instance, I spent my whole first year in a cut, so I don't even count that. You know, my whole 50% of my second year training was in a deficit, so I don't count that. I've really only exhausted my first year of gains. It had taken me about 3 years to do that because I was so fat. So I can still gain at the 2 pounds or less category for another year or two before I really even consider myself advanced. So just remember that. It's not total years lifting, it's total years bulking, total muscle built. So throwing that out there, you don't need to eat big to get big, and it really just depends what your definition of eat big is. For me, I can gain plenty of weight between 3,600–3,700 calories. That will allow me to bulk in a way that I will not get too fat. So people just saying you need to eat big, 3,600 calories, that's not big to me. It's not even close to big. I can eat that every day, and depending on my food choices, I could even be hungry after eating that much. So no, I don't need to eat big to get big. A lot of people who are formerly obese also do not need to eat big to get big. So I understand where some of the guys are coming from. If you've been thin all your life, sure, that phrase may apply to you, but I think for more people than it doesn't, that phrase is bullshit. So don't eat big to get big. Gain 2 pounds a month to get big. I guess that's the moral of the video. So if you have any comments or you disagree with me, I'd love to hear why. Drop it in the comments below, or head over to the Facebook page at facebook.com/feedingfitness. See you guys next time.